What if I told you that the fastest way to lower your blood sugar isn't cutting out bread, pasta, or rice? In fact, starving yourself of entire food groups is exactly why most people fail. The real secret? It's about adding the right foods, not eliminating everything you love. And I'm not talking theory here. I'm Dr. Joseph Miller, and over the past 12 years in clinical practice, I've watched over 600 patients drop their fasting blood sugar by 30, 40, even 60 points in less than 2 weeks, using the exact foods I'm about to show you. Not supplements, not expensive meal plans, just 8 specific foods you can find at any grocery store for under $20 total. So in the next 18 minutes, I'm going to walk you through exactly how each of these foods talks directly to your cells, turns off the insulin resistance switch, and brings your numbers down fast and sustainably. Because here's the truth. Your body already knows how to fix this. We just need to give it the right tools. But before we dive in, do me a quick favor. If you want more videos that explain the why behind your blood sugar instead of just handing you another pill, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like, and drop a comment below telling me what your fasting blood sugar was this morning. I read every single one, and honestly, your numbers help me decide what to cover next. All right, let's get into it. Here's what almost nobody explains during your 10-minute doctor's visit. High blood sugar doesn't start with sugar. It starts upstream with a hormone called insulin. Think of insulin as the key that unlocks your cells, so glucose, that's the sugar floating in your bloodstream, can actually get inside where it belongs. When your cells are healthy, insulin knocks, the door opens, glucose goes in, your blood sugar stays normal. Simple. But when you've spent years eating the standard American diet, riding the blood sugar roller coaster, breakfast cereal, snacks, soda, processed carbs, your cells stop answering the door. The insulin knocks and knocks. The cell stays shut. We call that insulin resistance. So your pancreas freaks out and pumps out more insulin to compensate. Your blood sugar climbs anyway. And the conventional answer? A prescription that pushes even more insulin into a system that's already drowning in it. Now listen, I'm not saying the system is evil. It's economics, not malice. There's no profit, and frankly no time in a 12-minute appointment to teach you how food communicates directly with your insulin receptors. So I'm going to. Every single food on today's list does one of 3 jobs. It slows the glucose from flooding in. It cools the inflammation that's keeping your cells deaf to insulin. Or it wakes the insulin receptor back up so your body does the work it was designed to do. You don't have to do all 8 tomorrow. Add them in over the next week or 2, stack them, and watch what happens. Let's start with the one that works the fastest, because if you have a glucose meter at home, you can literally watch this one work tonight. Apple cider vinegar. The active compound is acetic acid, and it does 2 things simultaneously. First, it slows your stomach from emptying, so carbohydrates trickle into your bloodstream instead of flooding it. Second, it helps your muscle cells pull glucose out of your blood and burn it for energy. The research here is rock solid. Dr. Carol Johnston at Arizona State University gave people with insulin resistance 1 tablespoon of vinegar before a carb-heavy meal. The result? Their after-meal blood sugar spike dropped by 20 to 30%. That's a prescription-level effect from something that costs $3 a bottle. Here's how to use it. Take 1 tablespoon, and this matters. Dilute it in a full glass of water 10 to 15 minutes before your biggest carbohydrate meal of the day. Do not drink it straight. The acid will wreck your tooth enamel and burn your throat. If you're already on medication like metformin or a sulfonylurea, check with your doctor first, because vinegar plus that med can drop your sugar faster than you expect. But for most people, This is the single fastest food-based intervention I know. If you skip this one, you're walking past a tool that could lower tonight's dinner spike by a quarter. Number 2 is sitting in your spice cabinet right now, but most people are using the wrong kind. Cinnamon. The common grocery store stuff is called Chia Cinnamon, and it's loaded with a compound called coumarin that's hard on your liver if you take it every day. The one you want is Ceylon Cinnamon, sometimes labeled true cinnamon. It's lighter in color, milder in taste, and safe to use daily. What makes cinnamon work is a group of polyphenols, natural plant compounds that behave almost like insulin themselves. They help your insulin receptors grip glucose more tightly, and they slow your stomach from dumping carbs too fast after a meal. The USDA Human Nutrition Research Center found that just a quarter to a half teaspoon per day meaningfully lowered fasting blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. A quarter teaspoon, that's it. Here's the trick. Use about a quarter to a half teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon daily and pair it with a carbohydrate meal. Stir it into your oatmeal, your coffee, even a smoothie. That's exactly when you want your receptors gripping harder and your stomach slowing down. If you're using the wrong cinnamon or skipping this entirely, you're leaving an easy win sitting on your shelf. All right, number 3, chia seeds. These tiny black and gray seeds punch way above their weight class. If you've ever seen chia pudding, you've already witnessed exactly how this works inside your gut. Chia is one of the richest sources of soluble fiber on the planet. When it hits the water in your stomach, it swells into a thick gel. That gel wraps around the carbohydrates in your meal and slows their absorption to a crawl. The sugar releases slowly and steadily, so you avoid the spike and the crash that leaves you shaky and raiding the pantry an hour later. On top of that, chia carries a plant-based omega-3 fat called ALA. It's not as powerful as the omega-3s in fish, but it still helps cool the low-grade inflammation that sits underneath insulin resistance. Cool the inflammation, and the cells start listening to insulin again. 1 to 2 tablespoons a day does the job. Stir it into yogurt. Drop it in a glass of water with a squeeze of lemon. Blend it into a smoothie. Give it about 10 minutes to gel up before you drink it, and make sure you're drinking plenty of water throughout the day, because all that fiber needs liquid to move. This is one of the cheapest, most versatile tools on this entire list. A bag costs maybe $4 and lasts you a month. Number 4, whole eggs, yolk included. For decades, people were told the yolk was the enemy, and that terrible advice pushed millions of people toward sugary breakfast cereals that spiked their blood sugar sky high every single morning. Let me set this straight. A whole egg is almost pure protein and fat, with virtually zero carbohydrate. On its own, it barely moves your blood sugar at all. But here's where it gets interesting. When you start your day with eggs instead of toast or cereal, you trigger something called the second meal effect. You stabilize your blood sugar not just at breakfast, but all the way through lunch. You walk into your next meal with calmer numbers and a much smaller spike. The protein and fat also keep you full. So those mid-morning cravings that used to send you to the vending machine, they just disappear. In my practice, swapping a cereal breakfast for 2 or 3 whole eggs is one of the fastest changes I see reflected on a morning glucose meter. We're talking drops of 15 to 25 points in the first week. 2 to 3 whole eggs in the morning. Scramble them, boil them ahead for the week, fold in some spinach, or add that avocado we're about to talk about. You've just built yourself a near-perfect blood sugar breakfast. Speaking of which, number 5, avocado. Most people think of avocado as a high-calorie fat to avoid, and that fear is costing them. The fat in an avocado is monounsaturated fat, the same family as olive oil. It's one of the most blood sugar-friendly things you can put on your plate. Here's why. That healthy fat plus the fiber inside an avocado slows your entire meal down. When you add half an avocado to a plate of rice, pasta, or toast, you're not removing the carbohydrate. You're putting a brake on how fast it turns into blood sugar. The glucose climbs gently instead of spiking, and over time, monounsaturated fat has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your cells start answering that insulin knock a little faster. In my experience, this is the easiest food on the list to make a habit because it makes the meal more filling. You stop reaching for a snack an hour later, and that alone cuts out a second blood sugar spike you didn't even realize you were creating. Half an avocado a day is a sensible target. Put it on your eggs in the morning, mash it onto whole grain toast, add it to a salad that already has a starch in it. Anywhere you have a carbohydrate, an avocado softens the blow. Number 6, fatty fish, and I'm talking salmon, mackerel, and sardines specifically. This one doesn't work by slowing your meal down. It works on the deeper problem, the reason your cells went deaf to insulin in the first place. Insulin resistance is driven, in large part, by chronic inflammation. When your body is quietly inflamed year after year, that inflammation physically interferes with the insulin signal at the surface of the cell. Salmon, mackerel, and sardines are loaded with 2 omega-3 fats, EPA and DHA. These are among the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory compounds we know of. They lower inflammatory signals. The cell membrane gets healthier, and the insulin receptor starts working the way it's supposed to. In 12 years of practice, the patients who eat fatty fish twice a week consistently have calmer, more stable numbers and better blood pressure and cholesterol to go with it. Aim for 2 servings a week, about the size of your palm each. Wild salmon, mackerel, sardines, herring, all excellent. Bake it, grill it, or buy it canned, if that's easier on your budget. Canned mackerel and sardines are some of the cheapest, most powerful foods in this entire video. A can costs $1.50 and gives you a week's worth of omega-3s. Number 7, lentils. And this one proves the whole point of this video. Lentils are a carbohydrate, and they will lower your blood sugar. Here's how that works. Lentils are built from slow-digesting carbohydrates called resistant starch, wrapped in soluble fiber, with a healthy dose of plant protein. That combination means the glucose inside the lentil is released into your bloodstream slowly and steadily over hours, not all at once. They also carry that second meal effect we talked about with eggs. A bowl of lentil soup at lunch gives you steadier sugar all the way into the evening. Clinically, swapping white rice or white potatoes for lentils a few times a week is one of the most reliable ways I know to bring down an A1C, which is your 3-month average blood sugar. Aim for half a cup to a cup of cooked lentils a few times a week. Use them in soup, stew, or a cold salad with olive oil and a splash of that vinegar we covered earlier. They're filling, they're cheap, and they stretch a meal further than almost anything else. If you think lowering blood sugar means giving up carbs entirely, lentils are the proof that you're wrong. And the 8th food, walnuts. Of all the nuts, this is the one I point my patients toward first, because of what it does for the lining of your blood vessels and your insulin at the same time. Walnuts are rich in polyunsaturated fat and the same plant omega-3 we talked about in chia. That fat improves the function of your endothelium, the thin lining inside your blood vessels, which is one of the first things high blood sugar damages. At the same time, the fat, fiber, and protein in walnuts blunt the blood sugar rise after a meal, and have been shown to lower fasting insulin. That's the number underneath your blood sugar that tells you how hard your pancreas is straining. Eat a small handful as a snack instead of crackers or cookies, and you've taken a potential sugar spike and turned it into a flat line. A small handful is about a quarter cup or 7 to 10 whole walnuts. Keep them raw or dry roasted, not the candied or honey-coated kind, and use them to replace a processed snack, not add on top of one. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Robert, 58 years old, truck driver, came into my office last year with a fasting blood sugar of 195. His doctor had just started him on metformin and told him if his numbers didn't come down in 3 months, insulin was next. Robert was terrified. His father had died of a heart attack at 62, and his older brother had already lost feeling in his feet from diabetic neuropathy. He did not want to go down that road. We didn't put him on some extreme low-carb diet. We didn't tell him to stop eating the foods he loved. We just added the right things. He started every morning with 3 eggs and half an avocado instead of the gas station muffin. He took a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and water before his biggest meal. He swapped his white rice for lentils twice a week. He kept a bag of walnuts in his truck instead of the chips. And he started eating canned sardines on crackers twice a week because they were cheap and he could eat them on the road. Within the first week, his fasting numbers started dropping. Within 6 weeks, he was consistently waking up in the 120s. 3 months later, his A1C had dropped from 7.8 to 6.2. His doctor cut his metformin dose in half. A year later, Robert's fasting sugar sits in the low 100s. He's still eating carbs. He's still driving long haul. He just eats smarter, not less, and his body is doing the rest. Now, before I give you your action plan, one critical thing. If you're currently on insulin or a sulfonylurea, one of the older diabetes pills, these foods can lower your blood sugar fast enough that your medication dose may suddenly be too high, and that can drop you into a dangerous low. So add these foods with your doctor watching your numbers, and let them adjust your medication dose down as your body improves. Do not stop any prescription on your own. Bring this list to your next appointment instead. All right, here's what to do tonight. 5 simple steps. 1. Tomorrow morning, replace your cereal or toast with 2 to 3 whole eggs and half an avocado. That single swap changes your blood sugar for the entire day. 2. Before your biggest carbohydrate meal tomorrow, take 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a full glass of water, 15 minutes before you eat. 3. Buy Ceylon Cinnamon, not cassia, and start with a 1/4 teaspoon a day in your coffee, oatmeal, or smoothie. 4. This week, add 1 to 2 tablespoons of chia seeds to your yogurt, water, or smoothie daily. 5. Swap white rice or potatoes for lentils at least twice this week, and put fatty fish on your plate 2 nights. Stack these in over the next 2 weeks. You're not removing the foods you love, you're adding the foods that protect you. Now everything we covered today brings your sugar down during the day and after meals. But I know a huge number of you are dealing with something strange. Your highest reading of the entire day is first thing in the morning, before you've eaten a single bite. You fasted all night, and your sugar went up anyway. There's a specific reason your liver does that while you sleep, and there's a way to shut it down. I made a video that explains exactly what's happening overnight and how to wake up to a lower number. I'm Dr. Joseph Miller. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.